All right, and the last section that we're going to learn today is in section 4 of chapter 1. We're going to continue talking about our sampling and our experiments, and we're actually going to talk about some main issues that occur in studies. Now, our main issues deal with biased and unbiased data. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this terminology before. You see it a lot when we're talking about the news, or I think in everyday English, it's obviously a popular word. So think about what you already know biased means. Biased means that something is being portrayed that isn't really true, and that can be for various reasons. Maybe you're not looking at all of the facts, or maybe you are including some details that shouldn't be included, or maybe you have your interior motives. All of these different things can create biased data, and that's no different within statistics. So a study conducted by a procedure that tends to overestimate or underestimate the true value is obviously going to consist of biased data. And then one that is a study conducting by a procedure that produces correct results on average. When we say on average, because of course it's not going to be perfect, but generally it's producing results that we tend to see fit. That's going to consist of unbiased data. And so there's a few types of bias that you want to be familiar with and you want to leave this class knowing. The first one is a voluntary response bias. Now this refers to the type of response that can be given during some type of sampling experiment. So let's say you are on your favorite website, and off to the right hand side you see a quick survey that says, hey, what is your favorite makeup product? Is it Revlon, L'Oreal, or I don't know, Almay? Is it Almay? I think it is. And you're going to click whichever one is your favorite. Well, you're probably only going to do that if you feel very passionate about that particular makeup brand, or if you're just really bored today. Or let's say you stopped at Sheetz gas station and you're like me and you want that $3 off coupon on your next beverage. You get the $3 off that coffee. And so there's that coupon at the bottom, and it says, hey, fill this survey out within 24 hours and we'll give you the coupon on your next purchase. And so that is a voluntary response bias, because the people that are filling out this survey are the opinions of people who obviously feel very strongly, whether that's positive or negative. Okay? All right, so moving on, self-interest bias. Now, self-interest bias is exactly what it sounds like. It has your self-interest completely displayed throughout the data. So you're not going to report any data that tends to show whatever you're trying to show that it's inferior. You want to make it look good. So let's say that I produced this new highlighter and I'm saying this is the best highlighter ever and it will not bleed through your paper. I'm certainly not going to convey any of the results that show that it did bleed through paper, because then that is going to negatively affect my advertisement. So people who have an interest in the outcome of an experiment, they have an incentive to use biased methods. That's going to be a self-interest bias. Now, social acceptability bias, a lot of times that's going to come into play when I ask a specific question. So let's say I'm doing a study and I'm doing a poll and I say, hey, did you vote in the last presidential election? Well, you may feel very awkward saying no, because you may feel like if you say no that I'm going to judge you, or that I may create some interior opinion of you and you don't want that. Or maybe I ask you about a controversial topic. Hey, what is your stance on abortion, or what is your stance on gay marriage? You may not want to answer that necessarily by the way that you feel, just because you are afraid of possibly the repercussions, there we go, or possibly the way that I may view you. And so that creates that social acceptability bias. Now, leading question bias is, well, sometimes I may ask a question and I may word it in a way that suggests a particular response. So, hey, do you favor decreasing the heavy tax burden on middle-class families? Well, I hope you would say no, and you probably are going to say no. Saying yes is going to make you feel really awkward because it's going to make you look bad, right? So that's leading question bias. Moving on to the second to last one is our non-response bias. Now, anytime that I'm surveying or conducting an experiment, there's always an option for an individual to opt out. They don't have to answer every single question. So there's going to be a certain proportion of people who are asked to participate, but they're going to refuse to do so, and we call that our non-response. And then the last type of bias that we'll deal with is just our sampling bias. So did I create that simple random sample, or did I conduct a sampling distribution that was very biased toward a particular group of people? Were there a certain part of my population, were they more likely to be included in the sample than others? Did I really think of all of my different methods that I could use, and did I go about that in a fair manner? So obviously, there's a lot of different types of bias in studies, and this is something extremely important to think about because you want to avoid any sense of biasness that you can whenever you conduct a study. Otherwise, your data may not really be conveying its true outcome that it is proclaiming.